Officially live. Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope you guys had a wonderful, long, extended weekend. My name's Stephanie Godel, your Chief Operating Officer and broker of Century 21 Discovery, here with my partner, also my dad, Joe Lins, the CEO of our fabulous company here in Fullerton, California. We've got two very special guests today, and I am thrilled to introduce both of them. First off, we have Theresa Harvey with the North Orange County Chamber of Commerce. So thank you, Theresa, for being here today. And then we have Senator Ling Chang, which we are beyond excited to have on with an update from kind of like a state level. So Senator, welcome. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I know you said it's really busy up north in Sacramento where you are today, so we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having Theresa and I on for this Fullerton community update.
Yeah,
it is quite busy up here. We have a condensed schedule now. We are up here in Sacramento Monday through Friday, essentially, and so we're really busy with committees, and that's why, you know, I'll take a few questions later, but I do have to run. However, you know, I'd love to answer questions. If anyone has any questions, please go ahead and email me. I'd love to cover that as well. So should I just jump right ahead?
If anybody else has questions too, I'm monitoring the live, so you can leave them there. I did talk to a staff member and they said they will be on there answering questions as they come in to the best of their ability too. But just a quick intro, if I may. Senator Ling Chang was elected to the California State Senate as of June 2018 after serving in the legislature for one term as an assemblywoman. I'm going to skip through a bunch of this just so we can use your time. But you mentioned committees. So you serve on 5 committees for this session, correct?
Yes.
The Banking and Financial Institutions as Vice Chair, Business Professions and Economic Developments as Vice Chair, Education, Energy, Utilities and Communication, and Governmental Organization. You are busy.
Yeah. So, not to mention the select committees, but we won't get into that.
Yeah. So why don't you just kick us off and let us know what's going on in your world and start this update.
Absolutely. So as you know, the COVID-19 public health crisis is presenting unprecedented challenges these days. And this has been a 2-part crisis. The first is the public health side, which we are triaging at the moment through unprecedented social distancing measures. And frankly, it's nerve-wracking because these viruses spread exponentially and some may feel like there's not a lot happening. But there's a reason why, as a state, we are identifying as many hospital beds as we can so our healthcare system is not overwhelmed by the numbers. And I'm checking in constantly with like St. Jude, you know, with a lot of the hospitals in Orange County to make sure that we have enough beds. The other crisis is an economic one, and people all over the state have been losing their business, their jobs, their ability to support their families. And I know a lot of folks are asking us, when are we going to open? You know, and I'll get to that as we are starting to open now. But in just the previous 9 weeks, more than 38.6 million Americans have filed for unemployment insurance claims. And as of April 2020, the national unemployment rate was 14.7%. And as the governor has stated in the past, you know, the reality could still be somewhere between 20 and 25%. We're getting there, which is not great. We need to start encouraging folks to start working. That's a whole nother topic that we can, you know, get into. In California specifically, 4.5 million people have filed for unemployment insurance benefits since March 12th, and 13 billion in unemployment insurance benefits have been distributed since March 15th. So it's really difficult to imagine our economy during this kind of contraction for months on end. Even though we are slowly reopening, we are still in the beginning phases or stages of phase 2. Families and businesses are hurting. Kids are still not in school. And on top of that, there has been an extreme level of stress permeating in our communities over the public health crisis. And I just want to say that I'm going to continue to work with my federal, state, and local partners to ensure we do everything we can for everyone so negatively impacted by COVID-19. Going forward, helping struggling families to support themselves, supporting getting small businesses back on their feet will continue to be my priorities. And that includes efforts to bolster programs that help parents care for their children while dismissed from school. And so, as you can imagine, I've participated in and hosted many conference calls and Zoom meetings, town halls these past several months. And one of the most prevalent questions I've received is, when is California going to move past this? And the answer is definitely not simple. I wish I could say there's a specific date as to when we will be able to completely go back to normal and when the economy will bounce back, but that is still uncertain at the moment. The governor announced last week that there has been an overall decline in hospitalizations and ICU cases. So that's really great news. And over the past 14 days, there has been a 7.5% decline in hospitalizations and an 8% decline in ICU cases. And this is great news as more PPE has arrived and has been distributed throughout the state. To date, 46.1 million procedural masks and 41 million N95 masks have been distributed. So we are currently in stage 2. And as you know, counties have been slowly reopening more and more. As of last week, it was stated that 53 out of 58 counties would begin to reopen under the most recent guidelines. With stable numbers like those that have been reported recently, the governor has raised the collective hopes of Californians by saying if transmission rates and hospitalizations stay down, looser restrictions on in-person retail shopping, salons and barbershops, we need that open like now. Frankly, I know as I'm saying that, could be coming soon, and even the prospect that professional sports without fans, unfortunately, would be allowed to take place. As of last week, Orange County was approved to move farther into phase 2. So Orange County will be able to open more retail, more dining, etc. And as we're reopening, we need to remember that COVID-19 is unfortunately not going away soon, and that any modifications to the stay-at-home order will be based on the stabilized numbers of COVID-19 positive patients. And in these times, we have to stay positive and remember that moving beyond phase 2 to phase 3 and 4 could probably still be a while. So please be patient. I think it's really important to kind of make sure that we take care of the public health aspect of this, but we're getting there. So one of the questions, how has the government began to open up in my world? So as you can see, I'm here in my office in Sacramento. I just flew up this morning, just got in. I've been working hard in the district since the start of the statewide stay-at-home order to support my constituents in any way that they need. In regards to legislative work, we reconvened May 8th, and it's been very interesting to say the least. Committee meetings have been taking place with proper social distancing measures, of course. Public testimony has been taking place by individuals and stakeholders calling into conference lines. And it's been very interesting to manage. I've had to chair banking, and we've had a mix-up of different committees. People were calling in to testify for different committee that was prior to banking. So we're getting all of that worked out. So it hasn't been easy, but it's been very, very busy, and it's moving along.
Can I? I was going to say, so you're up in Sacramento now. What does your normal schedule look like as far as going back and forth?
So we fly. We fly up Monday. Well, I fly up Monday mornings or Sunday evenings, depending on when the committee hearings are. If they are 9 a.m., like last week, I had a Monday 9 a.m. committee hearing, then I would fly in Sunday evening, and then return to the district Friday. So typically it would be Monday through Thursday. However, with our condensed schedule now, we are going Monday through Friday.
Okay. So you are very busy.
Very, very busy. Yeah. Yes.
So can we go back a little bit to talking about stage 2 and what that means, especially the County of Orange, I know has changed significantly over the last week. What is able to open, what's still not open, and what are some good rules to follow? I think a lot of people get into the mode of, okay, yeah, we can go out and, restrictions are loosened up a little bit, but it's still not back to normal by any means. So how is that working out? What is that looking like?
Right. So So phase two, there are certain like retail shops that can open with modifications. So that's like curbside retail, like bookstores, jewelry stores, toy stores, clothing stores, shoe stores, home and furnishing stores, sporting goods, antique stores, music stores, florists, supply chains that are supporting the above businesses like manufacturing and logistics sectors. And later on in stage two, that's destination retail, which we're moving into, like I heard Brea Mall is opening today. Personal services, like car washes, pet grooming, tanning facilities, landscape gardening. I find it interesting that tanning facilities is in the same category as phase two, and then barbers and salons. But I guess, tanning you could do by yourself. I don't know. I've never tanned. So, but office-based businesses, telework is still strongly recommended and encouraged. Dine-in restaurants, I know Orange County is moving into that. Schools and childcare facilities, outdoor museums, and open gallery spaces. So those will be open as well. But with all that being said, I think it's still very important to wear a mask. I know there's a lot of people kind of rebelling against it, but I think one thing to remember is, look, when you go to the doctor or the dentist, they're wearing masks because, even before COVID-19, they're still wearing masks to prevent transmission of, whatever they may have. And so I think it's prudent to continue wearing masks, when you're out and about and, close to people.
Definitely. I personally hate wearing a mask, but I do it anyways, just because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. So it's just, to care for others, right? Yeah, I absolutely hate wearing a mask. It's hard to breathe and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is about caring for others, so that's important. What does stage 3 and stage 4 look like?
So stage 3 is like the barber shops and the personal care services. Stage 4 is pretty much everything, right? Yeah, I'm asking my staff. Like concerts and all of that.
Big stuff. So still no group gatherings by any means.
I believe there is up to 10.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys spending a lot of time in the education realm as far as what schools are going to look like moving forward? Or the school systems are going to look like next year? How's that? Do you spend a lot of time in that world?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Have you guys spent a lot of time talking about schools and what the school year is going to look like next year?
No, so I believe that the directive from the superintendent of education is for local school districts and counties to make that determination.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I know early on, I was on call with the governor to talk about some of the needs for distant learning, like Wi-Fi or hotspots for students. And so we were able to procure that. But now I think that we need to start talking about when schools are going to reopen and what that's going to look like.
Yeah, last week we interviewed the presidents of both Fullerton College and Cal State Fullerton, and the week before that was a superintendents of our local high school district and elementary. And I can't even imagine trying to figure that all out right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
it's tough, especially since you're still going to have that physical distancing, component, and what a classroom would look like, right? So,
and I can't imagine trying to tell a bunch of 6 or 7-year-olds how to physically distance themselves. So
right, yeah, that's a great point.
So it's 12:17. I'm gonna ask you 1 or 2 more questions. I haven't seen any questions come through yet, and then anything else you want to chat about. But I thought we'd move off of maybe a non-COVID topic. And what are some of the important issues that are coming up this year? I know it's an election year, so what are some of the important issues that you guys are discussing right now?
Definitely COVID related, because as we are returning into session, we've been asked by leadership to pare down our legislative packages to just focus on COVID or wildfire related. And so I can talk about some of the bills that I'm carrying or supporting. So there's SB 939, which was approved by Senate Judiciary, which would allow businesses, including cafes, restaurants, and bars, to renegotiate and modify lease deals if they have been impacted by shelter-in-place orders and economic shutdowns. So if an agreement isn't reached after 30 days of negotiations, the tenant can break the lease with no penalty. And some are arguing this bill could cause financial collapse in the real estate market, as tenants will be allowed and encouraged to stop paying rent and to wait to pay that rent, if ever, for years, while proponents are saying that we are in desperate times and businesses need this help. This particular bill, I wanted to kind of highlight because it underscores the tension that the pandemic is creating. You know, how do we help those most in need, like small businesses, without overreaching? And it really is a difficult balance. I haven't actually seen that bill yet because I'm not on judiciary, but I am proud to support another bill, SB 1457. And this bill requires state agencies to assist small businesses in complying with statutes and regulations administered by the state agency. So we have to do what we can to get businesses back on their feet. That's definitely a priority of mine. And as vice chair of the Senate Banking Committee, I'm teaming up with the chair of the committee on a bipartisan basis to co-author SB 1477 as a direct response to COVID. And it's intended to provide protections against foreclosure for mom and pop landlords who might be experiencing income disruption due to the virus and closed loopholes. So that's also another one. For me, you know, I've been focused. I don't know if folks have read the LA Times article about the lottery. I had commissioned a state audit of the state lottery and found what many of us have suspected, that they were underpaying schools while pocketing more profits. And this is important because lottery profits are supposed to go to schools to increase their funding. So that's something that I had worked on. And my bill pertaining to COVID, SB 943, is paid family leave. So it's the expansion of paid family leave that would allow for, it would enact the temporary paid family leave programs to help employees who have kids in schools that shut down. So that's essentially the expansion there.
It's nice to hear though that because you know, when all of this really happened and hit the fan, if you will, you know, there was so much relief immediately for a lot of tenant type of situations. So it's nice that there's hopefully some light at the end of the tunnel for landlords as well, because they are hurting, you know, equally tenants. So
I've heard,
yeah,
I've heard from both sides. It's a really tough situation. And
tough.
housing committees going on right now. So we're kind of paying attention to that to see what's happening there, you know, with some of the bills.
Yeah, and real estate is just obviously key to not only my livelihood, Joe's livelihood, but our economy as a whole. I do have a question coming in. So the budget for 2020-21 is of course going to be reduced. What budget priorities do you put on the top of your list given your limited resources?
Oh, that's a great question. So anything that that is COVID related at this point, because like I said, people are struggling and that has to be a priority. Education is priority. I know there's going to be some cuts, which is why I'm pursuing, you know, the lottery funding that is owed to the state. But definitely anything to support our small businesses and to support, you know, hardworking families who are hurting right now. Definitely.
Good answer. Is there anything else that you would like to share while I'm waiting to see if any more questions come through?
Well, you know, I've been doing a lot in the district, you know, doing a lot of elderly care drives. You know, we handed out like 60,000 pieces of La Brea Bakery bread. You know, we were able to partner with La Brea Bakery. They've been absolutely wonderful. You know, my staff has been amazing, just volunteering, all over the district, helping out wherever they can. But I just want to offer, my assistance as well, for folks who are listening or watching, that they can contact my office anytime. My office number is 714-671-9474. We can help out with anything. We've been getting a lot of calls pertaining to the EDD. So please call us if you need help there. And you can also visit my website. We put updates on there as well, and that's senate.ca.gov/Chang. And then, of course, I'm very active on social media, so you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So all of that.
Joe or Theresa, do either of you have questions for the senator while she's on?
None for me. I mean, I think she's done, Senator, you've done a great job of giving us a well wrap, and trying to get off the COVID-19 is almost, impossible. And then my big question is just to make sure that we get this thing straightened out before football season starts.
My husband's the same way. Trust me. Yeah.
Theresa,
I think mine would be similar, and I know that local businesses in the county and the cities are all working together to make sure that funds that have come from the CARES Act go to cities, and however we can support those efforts. I know that the state has its funds, the county has its. There's a lot of pockets of funds, so we're trying very hard to make sure that they get distributed in a way that it helps everybody.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, Senator, unless you have anything else, I don't see any more questions coming in at the moment. We typically get a lot after the fact, but thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me.
Of course, it's been a lot of fun. The phone number, just to double check, is 714-671-9474.
Yes.
And I will be posting that number and her email address and the website afterwards in the comments below. So I've heard that her office has incredible resources, so don't hesitate to reach out if you need any assistance.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you, Senator. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All righty, Joe, if you want to get us on with Theresa, let's do it.
Hello, Theresa.
Hello, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing really good, thank you. I just wanted to give a little introduction of Theresa Harvey, who is one of the hardest working people in North Orange County, maybe the world. I'm not quite clear on that one, but always on behalf of businesses, and is out there front and center and does a lot of work, and has really been on the cutting edge in my mind as far as making right decisions for what the future comes. Even when, we talked about from Fullerton Chamber of Commerce to the North Orange County Chamber of Commerce to, really downsizing a location and really making some strategic moves that strengthens North Orange County Chamber of Commerce. And Theresa, you're doing a great job. We're really happy to have you on board with us today and looking forward to what you have to hear. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Stephanie. It's always great to be part of these types of briefings and really be able to bring the community up to date on what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'll preface everything by saying things are moving very quickly. So what I may say today will be wrong tomorrow.
I prefaced this whole thing with that, and I forgot this time. So
I know.
Thank you.
We've been saying the same darn thing all the way through.
I know, and it's just, well, and I'm going to start out really with kind of briefing you on what I just got in an email. The Orange County churches have been deemed essential by the County of Orange. So today in their supervisors meeting, they did vote on the heels of Newsom's announcement that churches can open throughout the state, but he was leaving it up to the county. So the county has decided that they can open at 25% of normal capacity or 100 people, whichever is less.
Got it. Wow.
So it's still advised that seniors, those with compromised health systems, et cetera, stay home, but check with your local congregations, your synagogues, your churches to see what might be open. It's they're still supposed to wear masks. There's social distancing involved. It's going to be a whole new world, but I think that's an announcement that people who are faith-based will be happy to hear.
Definitely.
So we're going to start with that one. So one bit of good news. But I know that anybody that was in Orange County this past weekend had an opportunity to experience in restaurant dining again. I think this is great, but on the heels of that, we've also been notified that a lot of the patrons in restaurants aren't following regulations. So it's probably a good idea to recap what some of those are, and then I'll let Stephanie ask me questions. But each industry has guidance that has been issued by the CDC and Cal OSHA, and it's very important that people follow those regulations, or we could have a major health crisis once again, and they could change the regulations and shut us back down. So as we move forward, we need to make sure that, and I'm going to recap what stage 2 was, even though the senator commented on in-person dining with reservations, retail shopping with social distancing, curbside pickup preferred, but you can go into your small shops, your jewelry stores and things like that and shop. Manufacturing, they're allowed to start operations again. Before it was only those that were deemed essential, particularly those tied to food manufacturers and some of the food manufacturing and food supply chain. But now others can begin to open. Offices when telework is not possible. They're still encouraging teleworking wherever possible. Outdoor museums. So this is not your small indoor museum or one that you're going to go into an art gallery. It's where you have a sculpture garden, somewhere where you can enjoy the art, but in an outdoor setting. And then some limited services, as the senator mentioned, and those regulations continue to change. So she mentioned tanning salons, but certainly not your hair salons. Dog groomers, I understand, are open, and all of this can be made available at covid19.ca.gov/industry-guidance. I know that's long, and I'll put it in there later, but it's very important that they find the guidance relevant to their industry. They have to have a plan in place for opening. They have to talk about and post the plan. So there's, it's really very measured in what can be done. You have to train the employees on how to limit the spread. And I'm looking at notes because I would never memorize all this. Implement individual controls and measurings. You have to take the temperatures, disinfectant protocols so far as both the clients, the employees, and the spaces. Post the industry specific checklist in their workplaces, wear face masks when out in a public space, in the retailer business, wherever you're not able to maintain 6 feet of social distancing. So it's not an open free for all. It really is very measured. And I know I scratch my nose all the time, and I keep saying, keep your hands away from your face, but I wash my hands 100 times a day. So yeah, it's a new world out there. We're going to continue to see changes, but it makes it interesting every day. It's new.
Every day you learn something new. So I'm going to ask you, or how I'm going to do this. Essentially, so Theresa's Chamber of Commerce, world's best Chamber of Commerce right here in North Orange County. And the Chamber of Commerce is extremely pro-business, and they do a lot to facilitate businesses in their work. That's pretty much, your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You have been very instrumental over the last 2.5 months in a lot of, providing guidelines or pushing through guidelines, all that sort of stuff. What have you done? Like, if somebody were to ask you, why should I join the Chamber of Commerce? I think the last 2.5 months has been a really good answer to that. So can you go through kind of what you've done and how you've helped your members through this time?
Sure. I think while we are not the organization to provide the funding and some of the services, we are the avenue and the conduit for connecting businesses with the information that exists. So from the beginning, we started pushing out information on the regulations, the closures, the businesses that were open, the restaurants that you could do takeout from. How do you apply for the Paycheck Protection Program? How do you apply through the SBA, SBDC for the SBA, and the resources the SBDC provides for any kind of aid? I think it's very interesting now as we move forward to see the different agencies that are coming forward with aid for their communities. But it's difficult for those who are running their businesses right now to also stay aware of all the regulations, and your Chamber of Commerce is working for you to try to make sure those resources are available in a single location.
Mhm.
So we revamped our website. We have a link on there that has COVID-19 resources with links. We've partnered with other pro-business organizations to make sure that we work in partnership and collaboration, so we're not duplicating services, and have tried to provide that steady stream of information to the community.
I was on a call with you last week, and you did mention there's no need to duplicate, services if it's already provided from somewhere else. You don't need to recreate the wheel all the time. So I like that what you guys provide through the chamber is not doing that, and all the resources. I always can call you and say, hey Theresa, I need help with this, and you say, okay, here you go. Here's the person to contact.
But it's also
Joe,
great that we can promote those businesses that are here. And that's one of the big things we do, is to promote the local businesses. We are an organization that's paid for by our members' investments. But right now, we have made the exception, and we are promoting businesses that are open and providing services. And whether you've made an investment in us or not, it's just important to keep the community up and alive. As Senator Chang said, unemployment rates in Orange County are higher than they've been since the Great Depression, since the 20s. So, it's like a 100-year cycle. I know we'll be out of this, but in the meantime, we really need to look at what everybody can do to work together to promote those businesses that are open and make sure they have an opportunity to come back, because that'll be the next challenge.
Yeah. Joe, what kind of questions do you have for Theresa?
Well, not to be a Debbie Downer though, but to think about that for a second, you just mentioned the Great Depression and unemployment, and then you compare the numbers to the numbers. I mean, the population now is, I don't know how many more times than it was back then. So it's been a huge impact. That who would have thought for a second that 8 weeks ago we would have been where we're at today. And like Stephanie said, the chamber does a tremendous amount of activity behind the scenes to keep people informed, and B, the world's best advocate for businesses as well.
Yeah.
And Theresa, how's the city doing? I mean, from a point of view from businesses, are they working hard on our behalf? Are they trying to move in that direction? And how are the cities doing, from your point of view?
Yeah, I think that each city is approaching this in a very aggressive and robust way. I think that throughout the region, you will find cities have taken community development block grant dollars, their CDBG grants, and have implemented loan programs for their businesses. So whether you're in Buena Park or Placentia, Fullerton, all of those cities have or will soon be rolling out loan programs for their small businesses. Those loans have ranged from $5,000 to $15,000 per business. And I know that they're in high demand. So I think that's one thing. This weekend, as you are aware, because we talked about it, a lot of the local restaurants opened, and the cities have relaxed the dining regulations. So as many of you might know, you can go to your favorite restaurant, order a dinner and your favorite cocktail to go. You can now dine, I believe in most of the cities, they've opened there and relaxed the regulations for dining on the sidewalks, the public parking lots. So
Right.
you will find businesses as their capacity is reduced because their tables have to be 6 foot apart.
Mhm.
They're very limited on how many they can have in by reservation only. I drove down State College Boulevard and they have, the Summit House has out on their driveway a sign that says happy hour on the hill.
Right.
This is a public park that is now available for the restaurant to expand their dining. And who wouldn't want to go up and sit under the trees up on top of the hill on State College and dine out there? In downtown Fullerton, we have a walk on Wilshire program. So Wilshire Boulevard or Wilshire Avenue is closed from Harbor to Malden, allowing, they're bringing umbrellas. They have a landscape company that is donating their services to come in and bring plants in. They're going to have a pedestrian friendly area with dining for any of the restaurants. You can go into any restaurant in the downtown and bring your food in there. It's a public dining area. Our farmers markets are still open. The locations have changed, the regulations have changed, but you can go there and get your fresh produce. So I think that whether you're in, whichever city you're in the region, you might live in one city, work in another, but we're all working together to make sure that these restaurants survive and the businesses survive. Now that we have the other small boutiques that our industry, that everybody enjoys so much to get unique items, you can go shopping in those boutiques now. It's not just Costco and Target and the bigger shops.
And I think, you guys always preach this, but even more since this has happened, supporting the small businesses, supporting the small restaurants, maybe hold off on going to Chili's. I never go to Chili's, but that's the first thing that popped in my mind. Being that it's such a big chain, and go to the Summit House, go to, Roma Cucina's, go somewhere that is local to Fullerton and support our Fullerton businesses that have been around for so many have been around for so long.
Yeah, we're really working on finding ways that we can say that we're stronger together. We're stronger together. We'll build a business community that's stronger by working together. I think this year, as we go into the holiday season, we'll be continuing our Shop Local campaigns. Shop Local, Dine Local, we've been really promoting that, whether it's Dine Fullerton, Dine Boyd Park, Dine Placentia. Everybody is working to find a way to promote these small businesses and to make sure that they can continue to operate. A number of businesses have closed their doors. Some of those are reopening June 1st or this week even. So we'll see more and more businesses opening up, and it's my hope that none of them have to close. I think it's interesting too to see how some of the businesses have really collaborated. Yesterday I saw, as I drove downtown, that Let It Brie, which is a wine shop next door to Vina Nostra, which is a cheese shop next to the wine shop, and they're collaborating to do cheese and wine pairings. Yeah. These are two businesses that have found a symbiotic relationship and are really collaborating. And I think both will be stronger because of it.
Yeah, they have.
I think we'll see that throughout.
Cute outdoor patio with like picnic tables, and it's shaded. And I love my wine and I love my cheese, so that's definitely a place on my list to visit.
But when you see businesses being creative like that, there is also added expense for them.
Totally.
So I think one of the things that we're going to, as consumers, have to be ready for is that as restaurants only have half capacity, as they're having to invest more in cleanliness and spacing things out, in putting up shields between tables, in being creative, that we are all going to bear the price of it. And I think we've seen that as we go to the grocery stores. Mm-hmm. They're not shielded from the additional costs either.
No, that's a good point.
And I think, and I think it's important that, we not test the limits of what's going on. When you're asked to wear a mask, it's really designed to protect the other person, not ourselves. But, what we don't want to do is move into phase 2 and then be denied phase 3 and have to go back to phase 1 because we got so aggressive with it as individuals and people.
Well, and I think, as Senator Chang was saying, that phase 3 may be your barbershops and your personal care, but I think that's going to be very limited in what they'll be able to do. Certainly, you're not going to be able to, it will not be life as it was before, not for a long, long time. We are a community that is highly dependent upon tourism.
Mhm.
We look at our largest employers, Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm. Those businesses are going to be living in a new paradigm. It's going to be very interesting to see how they open, when they open. The Anaheim Convention Center and some of our larger event spaces. I know that if we're looking at gatherings of 10 in phase 2, moving into gatherings of thousands at our convention center is well in the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody asked on the video, when do we expect phase 4 to open? And honestly, I think we're months and months and months away, unfortunately.
I know that I was reading that in Florida, Disney World and their other theme park, I can't remember the name of it.
Epcot.
Oh, the
Yeah,
animal.
Yeah, and there's one that's affiliated with another brand, but anyway, have opened. So I think those will be, I call them our petri dishes.
Mm,
We're looking at what happens at the different locations throughout the world to see how we're going to react here in Orange County. I think that we've noticed that the state and particularly the County of Orange are entering this more cautiously, but we also are a very densely populated community. We're not farmland
Right.
in Southern California. We're city dwellers. And we have to be able to react accordingly.
Is there, and if so, who, anybody like policing to make sure the businesses or restaurants are compliant?
I think the county health department is watching those things. They'll be self-monitored, and I think they'll be self-reported by those who frequent them. I think if people are uncomfortable going into venues and see them breaking the regulations, that the customers will be the ones that really alert the public officials. I know that Dr. Quick with the County of Orange is still really encouraging residents to wear the masks when they go out in public. That's the rules here in Orange County, and each city then has adopted, in some cases, more strict rules. The way it works, from my basic understanding, is the state of California, well, first the US government lays out its regulations. Then the state of California can adopt anything that's more restrictive than what the federal government has done.
Mm-hmm.
Counties can then do something more but not less restrictive than the state.
Right.
And finally, the cities can do something more but not less restrictive than the county. So that's why you will see differences from city to city and from county to county as we do open.
Well, we're still required to wear masks when we go out in public, correct?
You are required to wear masks when you, in Fullerton, it's when you go into a place of business.
Yeah.
It's not if you're walking the trails, if you're in open air. And it's my understanding that because the bigger the space, the safer it is. So if you are outside, it's a safer environment than if you're in an enclosed space.
Well, and in our industry, in real estate, I mean, they're just like any industry, there's very specific rules on how we can conduct our business right now. And we take those to heart, because the last thing we want is them to, like, and you've mentioned this, Senator Chang mentioned this, which is, if we push the limits too far, and then they can easily roll back and say, sorry, we're going back to stage 1, or back to lockdown, or close everything again. And that's the last thing we want or need at this point.
Well, I think that the minute as soon as we see, and hopefully we never will, a surge of infections or the hospitals being further impacted, that's where we're going to see restrictions tightened again.
Yeah.
But right now, the regulations in Orange County are that if you are in a public place, if you're visiting a retail, commercial, or other place of business, or at work where you're not able to maintain a 6-foot distance, you must wear a mask. And that's just the regulations that are in place. But if you are out in restaurants and you find that your wait staff is not practicing proper hygiene, is not washing their hands, you don't see hand sanitizers, you don't feel comfortable in any way, then I think it's absolutely your responsibility to either leave or to notify them that there are regulations they need to follow.
Definitely.
On the Kalosha website, and we have these resources posted on our website, as does the Orange County Business Council, ocbc.org, or our website is NOC for North Orange County Chamber.com. You will find industry-specific resources. So there's the Road to Resilience that shows the phases that the governor has phased in. And then we also have opening business resources. And those resources are put out by Kalosha. They're not clear cut. Every industry has their own regulations. And I don't want to be the one to begin to be able to assess or enforce. And I think that's why you will see this is not something that law enforcement is going to step in and try to work on enforcing. They have enough other things that are much more important to pay attention to. This is something that's going to have to be self-policed by the businesses and their clientele.
I think it's really important that we, take care of ourselves and make sure that self-policing is such a crazy word to use, but we really need to do that and behave, and for me to conform, Theresa, you know me well enough that that's kind of hard at times. But it's like, okay, I get this. It's for the good of the order. And Susie and I were talking the other day about, we live in the land of the free, until it infringes upon the guy next to us. And this is important. And so we really need to follow the rules, because I think they've been proven to really work well with the ability to contain this thing, as well as we have in a state like we've got here, populated as well and so close together.
I think you're absolutely right, Joe. I think that as we look moving forward, people who have been diagnosed with COVID or who might have it need to make sure that they isolate. If you've been in touch with somebody or in contact tracing is huge now to figure out who has been exposed, and then to isolate those who might have had a secondary exposure. And those with compromised immune systems, those who have other underlying health issues, need to take some common sense steps and to self-isolate. Certainly if you are somebody that gets sick easily, you shouldn't be going out and hanging out with the public. Stay home, have your food delivered to your house.
Yeah.
There are agencies out there, social service agencies, that are really working both through the cities and some of their distribution of food programs that they've increased funding for, local Meals on Wheels programs, Second Harvest. Your school districts, and I know this was mentioned, are serving food. And there are a number of our local restaurants that are partnering with them to make sure those kids get not only good nutrition, but something that may be a little different and out of the ordinary.
Yeah, it's incredible. The sense of community and willingness to help others is shining right now for the most part in the city of Fullerton. So
yeah, throughout the region. And the chamber, one of the things it's doing as we're moving forward is collecting those stories of doing good. Who's doing amazing things in the community during this very difficult time? Yeah. And how can we capture them and share those stories? So if you see people out in the community doing just exceptional good, we want to know about it. I know Two Saucy Broads is selling t-shirts, and then with the proceeds of that, they're taking food to the first responders, whether they're hospital workers, police and fire, people who are on all the time. Our hospital employees, our healthcare frontline workers are really extending themselves to help everybody else.
Yeah, they're being taxed, man. Every single one of those from first responder, everybody is really being taxed and laying it out there for us.
I mean, I hear stories of people who just graduated from nursing school and their first job out of nursing school is turning
Yeah.
patients,
Yeah.
and really right there in the trenches. So if you see people doing good, email them to me at tharvey@nocchamber.com. We want to know those people that are doing really amazing things.
I love that. As we wrap up, Theresa mentioned it before, but their website at the North Orange County Chamber of Commerce is a wealth of information, nocchamber.com. So we'll make sure that gets in the comments as well. But Theresa, one last thing before we wrap it up. Your installation of your board is coming up, and that is normally something that's done in person. So tell me what you're doing differently this year to accommodate everything that's going on.
Oh, we are looking forward to an amazing program. We realized that we weren't going to be able to gather. We weren't going to be able to have large gathering of 200 or more. And we decided we were going to go forth anyway with our members' annual meeting and our installation of officers. We've had a phenomenal year this year, and we want to continue to celebrate. So we are adopting a theme of Stronger Together as we enter our 125th year as a chamber. We have Gary Ridge, the CEO of WD-40, and he has written books with Ken Blanchard on leadership and becoming a leader in your business. So we're very glad that he'll be our special keynote speaker, somebody who we probably couldn't have secured, but it's amazing what you can do virtually. So that's coming up on June 11th. We are accepting reservations now through our website. It'll be at 5 o'clock, and this is a free event.
Wonderful.
We are encouraging those who are feeling generous and can sponsor it to do so. And then we also have coming up, and I think it's going to be in August, so look for more details. The day after the pandemic was announced was our women's conference scheduled, the She Influences Conference. And we have an amazing lineup of speakers. We will be taking that virtually as well in a lunch and learn situation with leaders in the business community throughout Orange County as our special guests. So look forward to that coming as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Joe, would you like to wrap us up?
Yeah, Theresa, thanks for coming on board. We really appreciate it. Just a wealth of information, good dialogue. Senator Ling, we appreciate her coming on board as well. And next week, we've got some great guests coming our way. So we're looking forward to another one. And Stephanie, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Theresa.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe and Stephanie, for the opportunity to help share some of the information that we have.
And it's important to get it out to the community. And so thank you.
All righty, guys. We'll see you next time.
Charge on.